Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is the English translation of the Majlis of Hazrath Mohammadqamaruzzamansaheb, which took place on the 22nd of Shaban 1446, 21st of February 2025. This Majlis took place after the Magharib Salat at Darul Ma'arif al-Islamiyya, Kareli, Alahbadi, UP, India. Our Hazrat Wala is quoting the narration of Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala, in which he says that قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is mentioned, إن من عباد الله لأناسا ما هم بأنبياء ولا شهداء. There are certain servants from amongst the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are certain people. They are not prophets, neither are they martyrs. However, the Anbiya, the prophets and the martyrs will envy them on the day of Qiyamah because of their position that they hold with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يغبطهم الأنبياء والشهداء يوم القيامة بمكانتهم من الله تعالى. Nevertheless, the Sahaba inquired from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam that manhum, who are these people? Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, hum qawmun tahabbu. They are a people that love one another for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ala ghayri arhamin baynahum wala amwal. They love one another not on the basis of being connected due to family ties. Neither do they love one another on the basis of wealth which demands that. For wallah, I take a qasam in the name of Allah, inna wujuhahum lanurun wa innahum ala nurin, that their faces will be illuminated and they will be based upon nur. لا يخافون إذا خاف الناس ولا يحزنون إذا حزن الناس. They will not fear whilst people will be fearing, and they will not grieve at the time when people are grieving. Thereafter he recited the ayat of the Quran Majid, Ala inna awliya Allahi, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam recites, behold, verily the friends of Allah are those La khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun, who will neither fear, neither will they grieve. Now Hazrat Wala is saying that Allah Ta'ala include us amongst them. This is a fantastic kitab of an Arab alim, Shami alim, Sheikh Salih Ahmad Ashami. He has written this particular kitab. Now, awliya Allah, at the least we can do is to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. In the next narration there, Sayyidina Muaz ibn Jabal radiyallahu ta'ala and relates that he heard Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam saying that Allah Ta'ala says that those who love one another for my sake, because of me, for them there will be pulpits of nur, and the Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam and the Shuhada will envy them. This is that daraja of the people because of the jazba they had that actually made them follow the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is because of this is actually what led them to the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and harakah came into the movement. The meaning of this is that a Muslim, when he loves a fellow person for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why actually is this? Because this person, he loves him because he is obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and because of his love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now this beloved person, when he moves away from that type of a path, then the individual then who once upon a time loved him also distances himself from him. And as this person starts going further and further, then he actually starts hating him for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this type of ihsas and jazabat is according to the very fine scales that come along with the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His pleasure. So it happens such that he loves a certain person, whereas he has not seen him, he has no association with him, he doesn't understand who this person is. But just because he has heard about how particular he was in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So many times we read in Tariq regarding a certain person who was a great lover of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one who led his lives according to the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and on that basis he loves that person. There is no other thing behind that is actually causing him to love Allah, to love this particular person. And this is actually how this comes into place, where a person will love for Allah and he will hate for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, many times we think that this year, where will it happen? When is it going to happen? And all of a sudden it happens. All of a sudden it happens. Like that, sometimes a person understands Qiyamah to be far-fetched, and Qiyamah will then just come like that. You know, Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab, he had a special way of actually presenting this type of discussion. He would go on to say regarding Akhirat, that why are you denying Akhirat? Why are you denying Jannat and Jahannam? Why are you denying Jannat and Jahannam? What is the trouble, or what could be the difficulty in believing in Jannah and Jahannam? I mean, this is long even before practicing in that direction. He says, what harm will this be to you? Or how will this harm you by you believing in the existence of the Akhirat, Jannah and Jahannam? If you believe in it, you will achieve. And if you do not believe in it, you will remain at a loss. Just before concluding there, a person asks that can't you make a dua for certain person, and thereafter Hazrat Wala is enlightened about the situation that he went for some major type of operation. Hazrat Wala makes dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah ta'ala blesses this individual with complete shifa. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم بحرمة سيد النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وسلم.